This may be one of the most important cameras Leica has come out with in years, the M EV1. This is going to split the community. Traditionalists may not like this camera. Newcomers might appreciate it. Is the M EV1 truly an M camera, or is it more like a Q with an M mount? Let's talk about it. I'm on two sides of the camp with this camera system. As a lot of you know, that I went to Leica 100 in Wetzlar, Germany this past June, and I had an amazing time. I've hosted Leica events. I've done a lot of Leica launches. I'm a fan. I own Leica M cameras. Without Oscar Barna creating the Leica, we wouldn't have 35mm photography as we know it today. With that said, let's talk about this for a second. I appreciate the rangefinder. I appreciate what it does for you in terms of photography. When you capture that image or that moment in time, there's nothing more satisfying because you really worked to get that photo. Now, with that said, you also miss a lot of photos. It's that enjoyment. It's that slower process. It's that I'm really involved in this photo, in this moment, that makes the Leica M so unique. Over time, eyesight doesn't work out as well. We get faster aperture lenses, 1.4, 1.2, 0.95. Hence, that's why a number of years ago, Leica created the VisoFlex, which was an EVF that you attached to the hot shoe of your Leica M camera. And that made taking photographs with those faster aperture lenses a lot easier. And it increases the size of the M. When the Leica SL was launched in 2015, 2016, thereabouts, also, you could adapt M lenses to it. You had a beautiful 5.76 million dot EVF. It was gorgeous. It made focusing with an M lens so enjoyable. And a lot of people bought that camera because of that EVF. Now today, in 2025, 100 years since the launch of the Leica M Model A, the first commercially produced Leica film camera, we now have the M EV1. This is an EVF inside a Leica M11 body. There's going to be a point in this video where I'm going to talk about expectations versus reality. Some of these things came to fruition, and some of them didn't. So this video is going to be more about what this camera is and not what I want it to be, but I will talk about things I wish were improved on it. So with that, let's get more into the design, the build, and the feel of the M EV1. At first glance, it looks like an M11 without a viewfinder and the ISO dial, but there are some subtle differences that I think are worth noting. And it kind of reminds me more of the Q in some ways than the M. Case in point, if you look under here on the top plate on an M11, M11P or whatever M digital body there is, there's a bit of a ridge. It sort of protrudes a little bit out there, and then obviously you have a little bit of a square area here where the viewfinder would be at. Gives it a nice sort of three-dimensional kind of look to it. It's a subtle, something subtle that you notice on the body, but without it there, it looks a bit more flat, a bit more modern, and a bit more Q-like. Now, obviously where the viewfinder is at, there's nothing there. It's plain, not even a faux viewfinder, and there's no ISO dial here, so it's pretty much like a base, simple plate there. But the grip is a little bit different. The texture of this wrap is different. It's a diamond-shaped texture, which is the same that we're going to get out of the SL3, SL2, respectively, as the same as the Q series. Personally, I prefer to have more of a leather or faux leather look to it, like the M. Obviously, you can change that out. It's not like it's permanent, but it's something that I feel if they want to say that it's an M, make it look like an M in some ways. But obviously, I think they want to give it more of a modern sort of Johnny Ive-ish look to it, and that's kind of what it looks like. Now, it doesn't come in silver, only black, which hopefully they do come out with a silver version in the future. A P version, like an M EV1P, where there's no red dot. It has maybe a Leica script right there. That would be kind of cool. I have to say the weight of this camera is very light. And that's the thing I've enjoyed probably one of the most using this camera is just how light and versatile it is. Walking around, I was over at F1, as I mentioned, the past weekend. It feels really good in the hand. Easy to put into a bag, regardless what lens you have on it. It's very compact. It is the same Q EVF for the most part, except for one thing. Still 5.76 million dot. The shape of the EVF is the same as the Q. Now, there's no tiltable display like you get on the Q, but this is a 60 FPS EVF, not a 120 FPS EVF. Now, what's the difference if you're not too sure of this? That's in terms of the frame rate, the smoothness of the image when you're looking through it. Now, the SL3, SL2 respectively have a 120 FPS. So it's a very smooth, very clean, doesn't jitter. There's no sort of stuttering whatsoever. At 60, it's still quite smooth, but you will notice a little bit of, especially in lower light, it might be not as smooth as the SL3 or the Q3 for that matter, because the Q3 is also 120 FPS. And I'm guessing that Leica reduced this. It's obviously it's a firmware. I think it's the same OLED or LED panel inside of it. So I'm guessing they reduced the FPS to save on battery because this has an 1800 milliamp battery, same as the M11, whereas the Q is a 2200 milliamp battery. So there's a little bit more juice out of the Q3, and it's the same FPS as you're getting out of the VisoFlex 2. That's 3.7 million dot. This is 5.76 million dot, but it's the same FPS. So you're getting kind of a similar experience, but hopefully in a future firmware update that Leica does add that option. Sure, it could be a warning saying, hey, look, your battery life may take a hit or whatever, however verbiage they want to put there. But I think that it would be nice for us to have that option. Now, in terms of focusing though, what I enjoy about this is that it makes focusing with faster aperture lenses so much easier and faster. You have this option inside of this in terms of the settings where you can actually have it set so as soon as you start turning the focus ring, it magnifies in and you can set your magnification level inside of it and it stays. So remember, it has memory towards it. It allows you to punch in and it's quite responsive. Again, the firmware is in final, so there are some delays from my experience on this at times, but again, I'm chalking that up to firmware versus actual real-world performance for a production unit. But I will say it's nice to have that. And then when you punch in, you got your focus peaking set on, which I set to low because low is a little bit more accurate, I feel, than high. Because when it's on high, everything looks like it's in focus, but when you see the image, it's a little bit off. But when it's set to low, when it's highlighted green, yellow, red, whatever color you have it set to, you know that subject is in focus, which obviously you want to have, especially with a system like this. But it really is enjoyable to use. And I even tried it with a Noctilux 0.95. And you know, on a rangefinder, good luck. I have a hard time because I usually wear glasses when I, drive and so forth. I don't like to use it for cameras. I use diopters. So I have to buy that separate diopter for the M camera, screw it on the back of it, or use a VisoFlex. But with this, it's very easy to nail focus. And I think that's the beauty of this camera, who it's designed for. It's designed for people like that maybe have a harder time seeing out of an OVF, optical viewfinder. And they feel like, look, I want to take advantage of these 1.4, 1.2, 0.95 lenses, but I don't want to be struggling. And that's where the M EV1 definitely comes into play. And also close focusing because, as you know, the last number of years, Leica's been making close focusing M lenses. Now, they haven't been making it to use off the rear display of a camera. No, that's not Leica's philosophy. I think this camera has been in the pipeline or at least been on the planning stage for quite some time. And I think those lenses are developed to maximize this camera. So you can go much closer than you could previously on standard M lenses, which is 0.7 meters. Now you can go 0.35 meters, 0.45 meters. You get a much better, more versatile experience, and matching it here to the M EV1 makes a ton of sense. And there's a lot of third-party lenses out there that are also close focusing, which will take advantage of this as well. Of course, if they don't have 6-bit encoding, you have to sign the profile inside of it, but that's just an extra step. It's not a deal breaker, but it's something to take note of. One of the things about this camera, which I found a little bit shocking, was that it only comes with 64 gigabytes of internal memory. Being that this is a fully electronic camera, there's no mechanical moving parts except the rangefinder coupling and the mount. I thought that Leica would at least give us 256 because I appreciate what Leica's done giving us internal storage. And they started with the M11, increased it with the M11P, M11 monochrome, respectively. Maybe they'll do that in a future version of that, like a P version, who knows? But the one thing that you do have is content credentials inside of this, which you did not have on the base M11. For some who want to protect their images, it's great to have. I don't use it. It's not something that I would take advantage of, but some people out there who are into media, who are into publication, this is something they may want to use and to protect their images, rightfully so. And it's at least inside here in the M EV1. Let's talk about something that I kind of discovered along the way over this past week. R to M, I can now use my R lenses on this and it works beautifully. Because it's not rangefinder coupled, you don't get that automatic magnification when you turn the focusing ring. That's gone. But you can use this function button here, which does the same thing. This was a great experience. I went to a concert and I was trying out this with a 250 f4R lens. Now, again, I was a little bit far from the stage, wasn't able to get as close as I wanted to, but the fact I could focus with an R lens and get a great experience is fantastic. So this is gonna reinvigorate the R users out there. Or maybe you wanna get this camera, but you're on a tight budget. You're like, look, I can't afford a Leica Summachron. I can't afford a Leica Summilux. But maybe a Leica R 50mm Summachron is a lot less expensive than a Summachron for the M. Can I maximize it? And the answer is, oh yeah. And the image quality is fantastic. You're going to enjoy it. It's a really great experience. So what about function buttons on this camera? Are there more or are there less? And what about this lever here? Because now that you don't have a rangefinder window, you can't adjust the frame lines. Or can you? Well, here's part of the experience with the M EV1, which I find quite unique. And also, hopefully they do address some things in a future firmware update. In terms of function buttons, we just have this one here, which is basically for magnification. And there's not a lot of customization inside the camera to sort of assign, features to various different buttons, because there's only one here, and then you have this switch. Now, when you push the switch to your right, that turns on and off focus peaking. When you push to the left, you get digital crop on this. So you can sort of like what you get on the Q series camera, where you can crop in a certain point, a certain amount. So you can crop in a certain amount. That's kind of the same process with this. That it's very easy to pick up the camera and accidentally press this lever here. Optical viewfinder, you push it, it goes right back to the normal view, frame lines, because it measures based on the rangefinder coupling, and it sends that information and it puts the exact frame line that you need. You just press and hold down when you want a different frame line. But with this one, you press once, focus peaking is off, press it again, it's on, and it's very easy to turn on and off. So there are times where I pick up the camera, I'm taking a shot, I'm like, focus peaking. Oh, push again. First world problems. It's not a deal breaker, but it would be nice that if Leica could offer us options to lock this, that would be nice to have. Again, this is a first for Leica, so there will be fixes along the way. There will be improvements, and this is version 1. And I don't expect it to be perfect, and I don't think anybody out there should as well. I mean, we're always going to want more out of our camera systems, because the more that we use something, the more that we're used to using other systems, we're going to compare, vice versa. It's going to be a natural progression. But the feedback that we give Leica, hopefully they watch videos like this and other people talking about it and saying, oh, wait a second, maybe we should lock this switch so it doesn't turn that off so easily. At least you can set it. When I first got this camera in hand, I wasn't sure that this was the camera that I was hoping it was going to be. But what really struck me with this camera using over the past week, as someone who was a bit more critical in the beginning, I've learned to enjoy it a bit more. And while it doesn't have the same feeling as capturing an image with a Rangefinder M, as I mentioned earlier, that satisfaction of lining two boxes up and capturing that subject in focus, it's given me so much more versatility that I've really it's become a lot easier to use. Now, sure, I wish there was IBIS inside of that. Maybe in a future version, maybe in M12, they'll add IBIS. That would be great. But there are some settings in here where you can set double the shutter speed or 4 times the shutter speed over your focal length that you're going to set this to. So that'll kind of alleviate some of that. And the ISO performance out of these cameras are really good with a 60 megapixel tri-resolution sensor. I would say if you're one of these people that buys an M and you're using a VisoFlex 80 to 90% of the time, getting this makes a lot of sense. If you are buying an SL3 or SL2 system to use your M lenses, you can get an external grip like I showed you, and you have a smaller footprint, and you're going to get roughly the same experience. As I mentioned, EVF is a little bit different, but you're getting roughly the same experience in an M body. The M EV1 is a camera we've been wanting and needing for quite a long time. It's a camera that I think is going to fit the needs for a lot of people out there. It is the gateway into the world of M. It's a non-intimidating camera. It's very easy to use. It's simple in its design. And how many camera companies can create simplicity like Leica? Is it the same M feeling as an M11P or an M6 or MP film camera? Not quite, but then again, times change. You know, when Leica came out with the M7, a lot of people didn't like it. Had a lot more electronics inside of it, aperture priority. The M5, when that came out, it was just a completely different design. Now the M5 and the M7 have a cult following. And I think we're gonna find that here with the M EV1. It's gonna take some time, and it's gonna take people using the camera, getting it out there, taking it through its paces. If you give it a chance, you're gonna appreciate what Leica's done with this. Those are my first impressions on the M EV1. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, like, subscribe. Thank you so much for the support. I greatly appreciate it. And I'll chat to you all very, very soon.